The strange request. The ship drifted silently through the dark sea of stars. Its engines hummed low, steady, like the heartbeat of a giant creature moving across the endless night. Inside, the human crew worked in calm order, following routines that had become normal in deep space. Nothing unusual ever happened on this journey, until the night when an alien stepped forward with a request no one had ever heard before. The alien was tall, covered in a thin armor-like skin that shimmered under the ship's white lights. Its eyes were black pools, deep and unreadable. It had always carried itself with pride, never bowing its head, never showing weakness. That night, however, it stood before the human captain with a different look, one that was almost fragile. "Captain," the alien said in a voice that was calm but heavy. "I have a request." The captain, a man who had seen battles and storms across the galaxy, raised an eyebrow. "What kind of request?" He asked carefully. He expected talk of supplies or information, maybe even a demand for more space on the ship. But the words that came out of the alien's mouth made every human in the room go still. "I want to sleep beside a human," the alien said. The silence that followed was heavier than steel. Every crew member froze, eyes wide, hearts pounding. For a moment, the captain thought he had heard it wrong. But the alien repeated, slower this time, as if the words carried a deep weight. "I want to sleep beside a human." The crew exchanged nervous glances. This was not a joke, not a trick. The alien's black eyes did not shine with humor or threat. They showed something else, something no one could understand. "Why?" the captain asked, his voice sharp. Aliens were known for their strength, their power, their cold logic. They never asked for comfort, never showed need. So why this strange request? The alien lowered its head slightly, a gesture none had seen before. "Because humans are safe," it whispered. The captain's heart beat faster. What did that mean? Safe? Safe from what? Was this a trap, a test, or something darker hiding beneath the surface? The guards tightened their grip on their rifles. The crew leaned forward, waiting for the captain's response. Nobody knew how to handle this moment. It was as if the universe had shifted, as if one small request had opened a door to something vast and unknown. The captain took a slow breath. "Explain yourself," he ordered, his tone calm but firm. The alien only looked back with those endless black eyes and said nothing more. It refused to explain, refused to give reason. All it would say was, "I want to sleep beside a human." Whispers spread across the ship. Some crew members thought the alien was testing them. Others feared it was a trap, a way to get close enough to harm someone in their sleep. But deep down, a small strange feeling crept into the captain's mind. He looked at the alien and did not see danger. He saw something else, something like longing. That feeling unsettled him even more. "Do you understand what you are asking?" the captain said slowly. "To share such a space with us, to lie down beside one of my crew. You asked for trust." "Yes," the alien replied, its voice soft. "Trust, that is what I ask." The room grew colder. The request felt like a shadow moving through every corner of the ship. It was small in words, yet heavy in meaning. And though no one could understand why, the captain knew this was no simple question. He dismissed the crew for the night, but called his officers to his quarters. They argued about the request, voices sharp and full of fear. "It's a trick," one said. "They want us weak, vulnerable," another added. But the captain listened quietly, staring out at the dark stars beyond the glass window. Something about the alien's tone would not leave his mind. It was not a threat, not pride, not power. It was something else entirely, something humans had felt, but rarely seen in aliens. It was need. Hours passed, but the decision could not be avoided. The alien stood waiting in silence, showing no anger, no rush, only patience, as if it had been waiting its whole life for this one request. Finally, the captain returned, his voice steady but uncertain. "You may have one night," he said. "One human volunteer, and guards will be present. The alien bowed its head. Slowly, not in mockery, not in arrogance, but in quiet respect, and with that, the crew prepared for the strangest night the ship had ever known. None could sleep easily. Every breath of the alien, every movement of its body, felt like thunder. In the quiet ship, no one knew what would happen. No one knew if they were making a mistake, but deep down, every human on board carried the same burning question in their hearts. Why would a powerful alien ask to sleep beside a human? And what would happen when the truth was revealed? Asterisk whispers in the ship. The next morning, the ship did not wake to its usual calm. Instead, it woke to whispers, soft at first, but spreading like ripples across water. Every hallway, every corner, every small gathering of crew members carried the same question. Why did the alien want to sleep beside a human? The colony ship had seen battles, storms, and long lonely nights in space, but never had the crew been shaken by something so small, so strange. It was not an attack, not a threat, not a demand for weapons or control. It was simply a request for closeness, and yet, that request had left the humans restless and afraid. In the mess hall, spoons clinked against metal bowls, but no one cared for the food. They leaned in closer to one another. Voices lowered. "It must be a trick," one whispered. "They want to test us," another replied. "They want to see if we'll drop our guard." Others, though, were less certain. "I saw its eyes," a young engineer said. "That wasn't a warrior's stare. It looked lonely." Her words made the others shift uncomfortably. No one liked the thought of an alien feeling lonely, because if that was true, then maybe the galaxy was stranger than they had believed. The human who had shared the bunk with the alien the night before said little. He only shook his head when asked if he was harmed. "No," he said quietly. "It just watched me like it was trying to learn something." Then, after a pause, he added, and before it closed its eyes, it whispered one word. "Warm." The room fell into silence. That single word passed from mouth to mouth. Warm. What could warmth mean to an alien who had crossed the stars? Why did it matter? The captain, meanwhile, sat in his private quarters, reading reports from the guards who had stood watch. They confirmed the same story. The alien had done nothing, only rested quietly, as if the simple act of lying beside a human gave it some kind of peace. The captain rubbed his forehead. This was more complicated than he had hoped. At first, he had believed it was a trick, but tricks usually ended with teeth, claws, or weapons. This ended with silence, with stillness, and that made it far more dangerous. Later that day, the captain called his officers to the command deck. They stood in a half-circle, tired eyes and heavy voices. "It's spreading through the crew," one said. "They're afraid," another added. "Afraid of what?" the captain asked. "Afraid of the unknown," came the reply. The truth was harder to swallow. Fear lived not in the alien's request, but in the humans' own hearts. The request was simple, but its meaning was not. It touched something deep, something humans could not explain. Why would a creature of strength seek comfort from them? The alien itself moved quietly through the ship. It did not press, it did not demand, but its presence was a shadow that followed every crew member. Some avoided its gaze, some stared too long, and always the whispers followed it like ghosts. In the engine bay, two mechanics argued. "One day it'll strike, you'll see. It'll use that closeness to kill." "No," the other said, shaking his head. "If it wanted to kill, it would have done it already." Their voices rose, sharp, carrying the same battle happening across the ship. A war of belief, not weapons. That night, the captain visited the alien in the observation deck. Stars stretched out beyond the glass, an endless river of light and darkness. The alien stood there silently, its hands folded behind its back. "You've unsettled my crew," the captain said firmly. The alien turned slowly, its eyes calm. "I know," it said simply. "Then explain yourself." The captain pressed, but again, the alien gave only a fraction of truth. "Your kind carries something rare," it said. "Other species do not have it." "And what is that?" the captain asked, his voice tense. The alien looked away, as if the words were too heavy to release. Peace, it finally whispered. Humans carry peace in their presence. The captain did not know what to say. Peace. Humans had fought. Wars for centuries, had burned cities, had torn each other apart. And yet this alien looked at them and saw peace. When the captain returned to his quarters, he wrote a single line in his log. We do not yet understand what they see in us, but whatever it is, it frightens me more than any weapon. The whispers did not die down, they grew. Each crew member carried them like a hidden weight. Some feared the alien's closeness. Others felt a strange pull toward it, as if they too wanted to understand why. But one truth was clear to everyone aboard the ship. The request had changed something. The ship no longer felt the same. The silence of space outside was nothing compared to the silence inside their hearts. And though no one would admit it aloud, every human now asked themselves the same burning question. What if the alien's request was not strange at all? What if, deep down, it was something they too longed for? The first night, the night arrived with a tension that pressed heavy on every wall of the ship. The corridors were quieter than usual, footsteps slower, voices softer, as if the crew feared to disturb the air itself. For tonight was not just another cycle in deep space. Tonight was the night the alien would lie beside a human. The captain stood in the barracks, his face hard, but his thoughts uneasy. He had chosen a volunteer, a soldier named Hal. A man calm under fire and steady in spirit. Hale did not smile, did not joke. He simply nodded when the order was given, as if accepting a duty he could not refuse. The alien entered the room without sound. Its tall form brushed the ceiling light, its black eyes scanning the bunk prepared for it. The guards stiffened, rifles ready. Every human heart beat faster, but no one dared to speak. Hale sat on the lower bunk, hands folded. His expression showed no fear, but inside, even he could feel the weight of the moment. The alien stopped before him, tilting its head slightly. "Do I disturb you?" it asked, its voice low. Hale shook his head. "I've seen worse company," he said evenly. A faint sound came from the alien's throat, something almost like a laugh, but softer, sadder. The alien moved closer, lowering itself onto the bunk. The metal creaked under its weight. For a long moment, neither spoke. Only the hum of the ship's engines filled the silence. Steady and endless, the guards watched, their fingers tense on their triggers. Any sudden move and they would fire. But the alien did nothing. It lay down, carefully beside the human, folding its long arms across its chest. Its eyes stayed open, black and shining, watching the rise and fall of Hale's breath. Minutes stretched into hours. The crew outside the barracks whispered, waiting for the alarm, waiting for screams, but none came. Instead, the alien's voice broke the silence with words so quiet, the guards almost missed them. "Warm," it whispered again. "Why are you warm?" Hale turned his head slightly. "It's how we are," he said. "Humans carry heat. It keeps us alive." The alien closed its eyes slowly. "I thought it was a story," it murmured. "But it is real." The words hung in the air, heavy with meaning no one could yet understand. The alien's body relaxed, its breaths deepening. For the first time since boarding the ship, it looked less like a warrior and more like a child lost in a strange place. It did not reach for weapons, did not strike. It only lay still, as though the simple act of being near a human was enough. One guard leaned closer to the captain, whispering, "This doesn't feel right, sir." The captain's eyes stayed locked on the alien. "No," he said quietly, "it doesn't feel right. But it doesn't feel wrong either." Hours later, when the ship's clock marked the change of cycle, Hale shifted slightly. He expected the alien to react, but it only breathed softly, almost peacefully. In that fragile moment, Hale realized something unsettling. This creature, feared across galaxies, sought not dominance, not blood, but rest. When morning came, the alien rose slowly, its movements calm and deliberate. It stood tall once more, But something had changed. Its shoulders seemed less heavy, its eyes less dark. It turned to Holly and bowed its head slightly. "Thank you," it said then. Without another word, it walked out of the barracks, leaving. Silence in its wake. The guards lowered their rifles, but no one spoke. They could not find words for what they had just witnessed. Haile sat quietly, his mind replaying the night. He had faced death before, but never something like this. Never a silence that carried more weight than a battlefield. When he finally joined the others in the mess hall, all eyes turned to him. What happened? They demanded. Haile lifted his cup of water, drank slowly, then set it down. "It just wanted to sleep," he said simply. His voice was calm, but his eyes held something the others could not name. A shadow of understanding and a spark of unease. The whispers grew louder across the ship. Some believed the alien was testing them, learning their habits. Others began to doubt that, wondering if something deeper was hidden beneath its strange request. But one thing was certain. The first night had changed everything. For now, every human on board could not help but wonder, what else did the alien want? And what would it ask for next? The hidden past. The alien did not speak of the night. It did not brag, did not explain. It only walked the halls of the ship in silence, tall and quiet. Yet every crew member could feel the change. The whispers followed like shadows. The alien slept, they said. It asked for warmth, they repeated, and with each whisper, curiosity grew sharper, like a blade waiting for truth. The captain, restless, called the alien to the command deck. The crew watched as it entered, its black eyes calm, its presence heavy. The captain folded his arms. "You've shaken my ship," he said. "My people don't understand you. I don't understand you. You will explain." For a long moment, the alien said nothing, then slowly, it lowered itself into a chair, its movements careful, almost respectful. "You want truth?" it asked softly. "Then you will hear it." The room went still, every officer leaning closer. The alien's voice was steady, but there was something inside it, something broken. "On my world," it began, "there is no rest." The words were simple, but they struck hard. "No rest?" The captain repeated. The alien's head tilted slightly. "Sleep is war," it said. "When one closes eyes, another comes with blade or claw. We do not lie down without fear. We do not breathe without watching for death." The crew exchanged uneasy glances. To them, sleep was ordinary, a thing so normal they never questioned it. But here was a creature telling them that even closing its eyes was a battlefield. "Our kind," the alien continued, "was born in fire, raised in storms. Generations lived and died without comfort. To rest was to invite death. To dream was to surrender. So we forgot how." Its black eyes lowered, heavy with something no human had ever seen in them before: grief. "We forgot the meaning of peace." Silence thickened around the room. The captain's jaw tightened, his voice quieter now. "And humans?" he asked. "Why us?" The alien's eyes lifted, and for the first time, there was no pride in them. No cold armor, only longing. "We heard stories," it said. "Stories of humans who lay down side by side, without fear. Stories of children who sleep while others watch over them. Stories of warmth shared, not stolen." It paused, its voice almost breaking. "Your kind does what no other does. You carry peace into the darkness. And we do not know how." The words pressed into every human heart like a weight. The officers looked at one another, some shaken, some refusing to believe. But the captain knew, deep down, that the alien was not lying. Its voice carried truth, the kind of truth that was too painful to invent. The alien leaned forward, its long hands clasped together. "You call it weakness," it said. "Others call it strange. But for us, it is survival. To rest without fear is to live longer than war allows. That is why I asked to lie beside one of you. Not for power, not for trick, for memory." It searched for the word, then nodded. "Yes, for memory. I wanted to remember what my kind has lost. The captain felt his throat tighten. He had faced enemies, traitors, pirates, and warlords, but never had he faced something like this. Never had he faced an enemy asking not for surrender or territory, but for comfort. One officer scoffed, trying to break the heaviness. "So you're telling us your people can't even sleep without trembling?" The alien turned its head. "Yes," it said simply. "And that is why we are feared. Because no one who sleeps in fear shows mercy when awake." Those words chilled the room, for the crew suddenly realized the truth. A species that never knew rest would never know kindness. A species without peace could only build war. The alien stood, its shadow tall against the light. "You wanted the truth," it said. "Now you carry it. Do with it what you will." And with that, it turned and walked out, leaving the crew silent when the door closed. The captain sat heavily in his chair. His officers whispered nervously, but he raised a hand to silence them. His eyes stared at the empty space where the alien had stood. "We always thought strength was found in weapons," he said slowly. "But perhaps real strength is in what we take for granted." That night, the whispers grew louder across the ship. Some mocked the alien story, calling it weakness. Others felt a strange pull of pity, wondering what it must mean to live without peace. But none could ignore it. The truth had been spoken, and now it lived in their minds. In the barracks, Halle lay awake, remembering the alien's quiet presence beside him. He thought of its soft whisper warm, and for the first time, he wondered if that word had carried more pain than he had understood. Testing humanity at first, the humans thought it was over. The alien had made its strange request, had slept its night, had spoken its truth. And maybe, just maybe, things would return to normal. But deep space is never silent for long, and neither are whispers. The next evening, another alien approached. Different face, same black eyes, the same careful step into the captain's quarters. "I too wish to lie beside a human," it said. The captain's hand froze over his datapad, his heart sinking. It was beginning. Word spread faster than fire. More aliens came, one by one, their voices calm, their requests the same. Not for weapons, not for control, not for riches, only this: let us sleep beside a human. The crew panicked. "This is getting out of hand," an officer snapped during council. "They'll all want it next. We cannot allow dozens of aliens lying next to our people." But another voice cut through, quieter but sharper. "Or maybe we cannot afford to refuse." The argument split the crew in two. Half believed it was a trap, a slow way of gaining closeness, learning weaknesses. Half began to wonder if it was something else, something honest, something that could change everything. The captain listened in silence. He knew the danger, but he also knew something his crew did not. When he had looked into that first alien's eyes, he had not seen war. He had seen need, and need was more dangerous than a weapon, because it never stopped. That night, the mess hall filled with voices. Humans sat in groups, arguing in hushed tones. Some soldiers polished their rifles, muttering, "They're testing us, seeing if we're weak." But the younger ones spoke differently. What if it's not weakness? What if it's trust? The alien presence grew heavier with each passing cycle. They did not force, they did not demand, but their silent waiting was louder than shouting. They passed humans in the halls, their dark eyes lingering, not in hunger, not in threat, but in hope, and that unsettled the humans even more. Finally, the captain called for a meeting. Every officer, every leader sat around the long steel table. The room was thick with tension. "Here's the truth," the captain began. "We can refuse them, lock them out, keep our beds to ourselves. But then what? Distrust will grow. We will live side by side, but with walls between us. That is no alliance, only a waiting war." He paused, his eyes heavy. "Or we test them as they test us." The word struck the room like a shockwave. The officers leaned forward, confused. "Test them? How?" The captain's gaze hardened. "We allow it, but we watch. We measure. We see if their request is honest. And if it is, then perhaps it is not us who are being tested, but them. That night Hale once again lay down, but this time another alien came. Different from the first, it lowered itself onto the bunk beside him, body tense, for a long while. It did not move. Then, in a trembling voice, it whispered, "I do not remember this feeling." Safety, Hale swallowed hard. He wanted to push it away, to demand answers. But instead, he lay still, listening to its breaths slow, its body ease. He thought of the stories told, how these beings had lived without peace, and for the first time, he wondered if humans had been blind to their own gift all along. The guards watched carefully, weapons at the ready, but the aliens slept without sound. No attack, no trick, no harm. Only stillness, and when morning came, it rose and bowed, whispering a single word, gratitude. By the third night, more aliens requested the same. Some humans refused, stepping back in fear. Others, reluctantly, agreed. Lying awake while strange bodies rested beside them, the pattern repeated, no violence, no betrayal, only a quiet hunger for closeness. But the fear did not vanish. In the control room, the officers gathered again. "They are changing our crew," one hissed. "Soon we'll forget caution. Soon we'll see them as friends. That's when they'll strike." But Hale spoke for the first time, his voice steady. "No," he said. "They already struck. They struck our hearts. And none of us were ready." The room fell silent, because deep down, every human knew. He was right. The testing had begun. But it was not a test of weapons, or ships, or armies. It was a test of what it meant to be human, and whether they were willing to share the one thing no other species in the galaxy seemed to have, the gift of peace. A night of connection. The barracks had never been so full. Rows of bunks, steel walls, and the steady hum of engines had always felt ordinary. But tonight, it was different. Tonight, humans and aliens would lie down together, side by side, and no one truly knew what would happen. The captain stood at the entrance, arms crossed. He had allowed it. But even now doubt gnawed at his mind. If this was a trap, he would be remembered as the fool who opened the door. If it was not, then perhaps it was something greater. Something history would never forget. The crew gathered in silence. Humans sat stiff on their bunks, watching as the tall, dark-eyed aliens entered one by one. The air grew heavy. Every step echoed like thunder. The guards kept their weapons ready. But for the first time, even they hesitated, because the aliens' faces were not cold, not hostile. They looked unsure, as if they too were afraid. One by one, the aliens lowered themselves onto bunks, beside humans who shifted nervously, their bodies tense. There were no words, only the sound of beds creaking, of strange bodies lying closer than anyone thought possible. At first, no one moved. Humans stared at the ceiling, pretending not to notice the weight of another presence. Aliens lay still, their black eyes unblinking. Minutes passed like hours. And then something small happened. Something no one expected. An alien whispered, almost too soft to hear, "This feels safe." The human beside it turned his head, shocked by the fragile tone. But he did not speak. He only lay still listening. And then another alien spoke, its voice trembling. "I can breathe." The words carried no threat, only relief soon. The silence was broken by more whispers. One alien said warm, another said quiet. Some even laughed softly, a sound no human had ever heard from them. The guards lowered their rifles slightly, exchanging uncertain glances. Because what they were witnessing was not an army, not a scheme. It was something closer to a confession. Hale lay on his bunk, another alien resting beside him. He remembered the first night, the first whisper of warm. Now he heard more. Voices around the room, dozens of beings who had never known peace. Finally touching it, if only for a moment, the air grew different. The tension, the fear, the suspicion, all of it began to dissolve. Not because anyone spoke of trust, but because trust was being lived. In the rhythm of breaths, in the quiet. Closeness of bodies that should have been enemies. Hours passed, and slowly, one by one, the aliens' eyes closed, their long frames relaxed, their chests rising and falling in steady rhythm. They slept, truly slept, not with weapons in hand, not with claws ready, but with the simple, vulnerable surrender that only comes when one believes they are safe. The humans watched in awe. Some could not believe it. Others felt their own eyes grow heavy, their own bodies finally relax, and before long, human and alien alike lay sleeping, side by side, different species, different worlds, but in that moment, sharing the same peace, the captain remained awake. Standing in the shadows, he looked across the room at the sight before him, something no battle, no treaty, no council had ever created, an alliance not written on paper, but carved into the silence of that night. One officer whispered to him, "This is madness." The captain shook his head slowly. "No," he said, his voice steady. "This is the first sane thing we've seen in years." Outside the steel walls, the galaxy stretched on, cold and endless, but inside, for the first time, warmth filled the barracks. It was not the warmth of engines or artificial heat, it was the warmth of presence, of trust, of something fragile yet unbreakable. When dawn came, the aliens woke slowly, blinking in confusion. Some looked at their hands, as if surprised they still lived. Others touched the sheets gently, as though trying to hold on to the feeling. One turned to the human beside him and whispered, "I dreamed." For the first time, the human stared back, unable to reply, because what words could match the weight of such a confession? As the aliens left the barracks, the humans did not stop them. They only watched in silence, every heart carried same thought. Something had shifted. The galaxy itself had tilted. That night would be remembered. Not for battle, not for blood, but for a quiet closeness no one believed possible. A night when walls fell, and enemies became something else. The lesson of humanity, the morning after the great night, was unlike any other. The barracks were quiet, not from fear, but from wonder. Humans sat at their tables, silent, watching as the aliens moved through the ship. There were no weapons in their hands, no anger in their eyes, only something new, something fragile, a calmness that no one had seen before. The captain stood by the window of the command deck, staring at the stars. He had fought many battles, had signed treaties that crumbled. But what he had witnessed the night before was something different. It was not politics, it was not strategy, it was human. The alien leader approached him, tall and solemn. It had not joined the sleep before, had only watched from afar. Now its dark eyes held a question and a quiet respect. "Captain," it said slowly, "I saw what happened." The captain turned, his face unreadable. "You disapprove?" he asked. The alien leader shook its head. "No, I cannot disapprove of something I do not understand." There was a pause, heavy with meaning. Then the alien spoke again, softer this time. "Why do humans do this? Why do you open yourselves? Why do you trust?" The captain exhaled, looking back at the stars. "Because we know what it means to be weak," he said. "We know what it means to need each other. That is why we share warmth. That is why we guard one another in sleep. Without it, we would not have survived our own history." The alien leader tilted its head, thinking, "In our world, weakness is death." It said, "In your world, weakness became strength." The words settled between them, sharp as truth and soft as memory. Later in the mess hall, the alien leader stood before humans and aliens alike. Its voice carried across the steel walls, deep and heavy. "We believed humans were fragile," it said, "soft, easy to break. That is why we did not fear you. But last night, you showed us something greater than weapons, greater than war." The crew leaned forward, listening, hearts beating fast. The alien's voice grew firmer. "You hold the greatest strength. You create peace where none exists. You give safety even when it costs you. You carry warmth into the coldest dark. That is not weakness. That is power no blade can cut, no fire can burn. The room was silent. Some humans shifted uncomfortably. Unused to being praised by those once considered enemies, but deep inside, they knew it was true. Their greatest strength had never been in their ships, nor their rifles. It had always been in each other. One alien, smaller than the others, stepped forward. Its voice trembled as it spoke. Last night, I dreamed, it said. Its black eyes shone with something close to tears. In all my years, I never dreamed. Always I feared. Always I woke in terror. But beside a human, I dreamed. The words struck like lightning. For to dream is to be free. And freedom was something no one expected to give their enemies. The captain rose slowly, his voice calm. You came to us with suspicion. We gave you only what we give to each other. Now you know who we are. He looked around the room, meeting human and alien eyes alike. Remember this. Humanity is not strong because we fight. Humanity is strong because we stay together. The alien leader bowed its head. A gesture no one thought they would ever see, and with quiet reverence, it whispered, Tonight, I will not fear. Because I sleep beside a human. The words spread like fire, repeated softly by others. A phrase that began as strange now became a bond. Humans and aliens alike carried it in their hearts. A reminder that even in the vast cold emptiness of space, warmth could be found. That night, for the first time in history, enemies lay down not in war, but in peace. Different species, different worlds, yet united by the simplest of truths, that to share trust in the dark was greater than any weapon. And so the story of humanity was written not in blood, but in the quiet breath of sleep, in the safety of closeness, and in the lesson no one would forget, that sometimes the greatest power in the universe is not how hard one can fight, but how gently one can rest.